You ready? All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting, please. Thank you. Welcome. I'd like to call our regular town council November 12th meeting to order. I'd like to start the meeting off on a couple positive notes. First of all, most importantly, yesterday was Veterans Day. Thank you to those that served our country, had family members that served our country. I was at the New York airport yesterday and they were playing taps, so I stood up and took my hat off, and I had a handful of people come up to me and thank me for being a veteran. I said, no, I didn't serve, just being respectful like most people, they aren't. So anyhow, thank you for your service to our country. Also excited to mention we have a program called Shop with a Cop. If anyone has any questions, Captain Miller is here to answer. But Shop with a Cop it was established a few years ago, but especially this year, it's going to be important at Christmas that with a lot of the families that have lost everything, their children have lost everything, Beach Mountain PD is ensuring that the children will be screened to make sure that the appropriate ones receive $300. I was told that our goal was $3,000, and I was told our police chief he needed to increase his standards. Our goal is $10,000. So I think we are on our way of meeting that. So what they'll do is they'll pick the children up either in a school bus, church van, and they'll take them to Boone, and all the children get $300. They'll take them to either a Target, Walmart, something of that nature. Jerry Franklin told me last year that it hit home with him that one of the children had $300, and rather than going to the toy section, the bike section, they went to the clothing section and got, things that they needed, not wanted. So if you guys will spread the word, you can drop a check off with here at Town Hall, or you can go to the town's website and there's a code that you can donate online. So if y'all would spread the word, would be nice. Also, a friend of mine from Newton, he's in a hunting club with a gentleman from Seaboard, North Carolina. Seaboard is on the Virginia-North Carolina line, Ahoskie, Murfreesboro, and they do Christian ministry work, and they travel through areas in North and South Carolina that have had floods, hurricane, whatever devastation, and they have mobile kitchens. They're bringing a crew here Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and they're cooking for 3,000 people. And they're setting up at Cranberry Middle School. They'll start serving plates Thanksgiving Day at 10:30, and it's open to anyone and everyone, first come, first serve. But they have enough food for 3,000 people. Unfortunately, I have a commercial grill. My buddy that's part of this club has volunteered me. Well, he volunteered my grill, so I guess I go with it. And I believe that's it. So welcome to the meeting, and I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes. Cyclone,
Yes, sir.
you're up, sir.
I'm getting my vote. Good afternoon, everyone. Our scripture for today is from the book of Isaiah. It says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint." That's from the book of Isaiah. This past week's been a really kind of a weird one, especially for me. Let's see, all this past week, I had some type of respiratory infection. I lost my voice, which you don't realize how much you use it, Fred. I'm just talking, you don't have it. And then I guess the second weird thing was the election. Something happened It only happened twice in the history of our country. The sitting president was defeated the next term, so he skips a term, and then he's elected. And the only other one I believe was Grover Cleveland. So, and then I guess the third weird thing was Saturday, my alma mater, the Ole Miss Rebels, beat the Georgia Bulldogs. And that happens about as often as the sitting president. So anyway, we're really thankful for that. Yesterday, excuse me, was Veterans Day. And from 1919 until 1954, it was called Armistice Day. And it was called this to honor, of course, the soldiers from World War I. And we had, it came about on the few days before the actual war was over. Delegates from Germany and from the Allies met, and they called for a ceasefire. Instead of saying ceasefire immediately, they waited a few days because the Germans wanted to go ahead and do it then. The Allies had now said, we're going to take a few days so the news can get all across the country and they won't be shooting one another. Well, I don't know where they came up with that logic, but anyway, this delay caused about 11,000 soldiers to be killed and wounded a few extra hours that they went. I had always heard that the last fatality was this poor soldier that was killed at 11:59, 11 hours, 11 o'clock was supposed to be, that was supposed to be the, let me get it in my head now, the 11th minute, the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th night. Well, this poor guy, General Pershing has listed on his morning report for the 12th of November that deaths said 11:59. I always assumed, well, it's probably, malfunction of an artillery shell or something like that, accident. But in doing this research here, I found out it was a little mysterious circumstances. He was a soldier by the name of Henry Gunther, and he was from Baltimore. He was his grandparents came over from Germany, so he hesitated to join the military when World War I started because still a little bit of German connection there. So he finally wound up being drafted, and he had evidently was a very good soldier because he soon reached the rank of sergeant. He was supply sergeant. And so things are going along real good there. And he wrote a letter home to one of his friends back in Baltimore and told him how bad it was out in the field. It was cold, we were having hot meals, typical military stuff you run into. But then, and during World War II, they had censorship. When you write letters, there'd be some people that all they do, they read your letters and they go through and strike stuff out like that. So they read this about Henry Gunther, and the powers that be broke him down from sergeant, busted him all the way down to private because he was not towing the company line. Well, this really upset him. They don't really know how bad it upset him till the final 30 minutes of the war, about 10:30 on November 11th. There's a German machine gun, two guys on a 50-caliber machine gun at a road crossing, the Germans. And the Americans there, about probably 100 yards away, and they can see them. So this guy, Henry, he puts a bayonet on his rifle, and he charges this German 50-caliber machine gun. And he had been in the military, a rifle bayonet's not going to last against a machine gun. But anyway, he charged me. The German soldiers are trying to wave him up, 9, the war's over, the war's over. So he starts opening fire on them, and of course they have no recourse but to shoot and kill him. And so they think that he kind of cracked up a little bit the fact that he lost his rank. But General Pershing's morning report the next day listed as dying in. And the ironic thing about it, in this morning report, Pershing promotes him back to sergeant where he was before he cracked up like this. So that was one of the interesting things about Veterans Day. In 1954, Congress changed the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. And at this time, I was in the 1st Infantry Division in Bamberg, Germany, and on the 1st Veterans Day. And my claim to fame, I got to march in the first parade that they ever had to honor Veterans Day. But before you get too impressed, I think every military base in the world, they had a parade to honor that, and probably a million other guys shared my honor with me. But anyway, it was an interesting thing to see. Since then, my 70 years or so, I've had occasion to celebrate in many different ways. Ball games, churches, schools and all. Spoke to a couple of schools and churches about Veterans Day. But I think probably the most impressive Veterans Day that I can remember, I believe it was 2012. Several of us went on a tour, a cruise, Princess Cruise out of London, along the European coastline and back to Miami. And this occurred over what was Veterans Day. And the ship's captain was British. And so we had a ceremony in honor of Veterans Day. Of course, British and Australians and French and all, this Decoration Day, or what's the other day? Remembrance Day. But this ship's captain, in the program he gave, he combined all of those, so you got the feeling of it not only from your perspective, but someone else's also. And he gave a program that I'll never forget how well he handled it. After we moved to Beech Mountain in '94, and at that time, there's still an awful lot of World War II veterans around. I wrote a list of them down because I think they'd be forgotten, except I think we'd like to hear the names. I know some of you are going to be familiar with some. I know Fred, we'll Tim, Riley. But probably, I don't think any of them are around now, but that's of course 30 years ago. Probably the first one that I remember becoming friends with, I met most of these guys because I played golf, they played golf. And after you play around, the old Fairway Cafe, you'd have a pitcher of beer. And being an old history teacher, I loved that, to get to hear the stories these guys would tell. But the first one I remember was Dr. Robert Quattlebaum. Fred, I know you remember Dr. Quattlebaum. He had been in service in Europe. I believe Dr. Quattlebaum was a medic. He became a doctor later. But he would always go with me to Old Beech Mountain School to read to the kids. And when he passed away, he'd already made arrangements that the flag the government gave him, that he used to give it to his wife, to give to me, to give to the school. So it flew over the school for quite a while, probably still in a trophy case. Probably the best known veteran I can think of we had here was probably Coach Paul Diesel. He was the Army Air Force, and of course Paul came back and went on to become a very famous football coach, won the national championship at LSU. Ed Dahl was a B-24 pilot, and I forgot how many missions he had over Germany. But the interesting thing about Ed, he was from from a city somewhere up north, and no one had cars, pickups, anything there. Everybody rode the bus. So Ed never learned to drive a car. And he had 12 missions over Germany, bombing factories and all, before he could even realize he didn't know how to drive a car. And it came to his attention, his commanding officer, some general. They had a meeting, and so he flipped Ed keys to the Jeep, said, I'll go down to PX and get me a pack of cigarettes. And so Ed said, sir, may I have a word with you in private? So He said, yeah. So he told the general what it was. And he said, the general hit the ceiling and said, I can't believe, he said, what would happen if all of my fellow generals find out one of my pilots has got 12 missions over Germany and he can't even drive a dadgum Jeep to get them to the PX there. So, and probably the other interesting thing with this was a gentleman who's here then was in our golf group, Hans. I can't think of Hans's last name. Fred, I know you would know him too, probably Tim too. But he had served in the German army in World War II. And he and Ed, over a pitcher of beer, kind of started comparing notes and time. And they found out that Ed flew over him bombing him, and Hans was there shooting at him with an aircraft gun. So after that, every time they'd get together, the trash talk was worse than an NFL football game. But that's, so you can imagine. Dr. Glenn King was another. He was a medic that became a doctor. Dr. Bob Chambers. We had a gentleman named Beach Stevens, who was in the Army in Europe. This gentleman, Bert Klein, was a radio man for General MacArthur. And Bert said he spent 2 years every day with MacArthur. And he said the only time MacArthur ever even acknowledged that he existed was he handed him a message that, here, Sergeant, said, try not to mess this one up. Yeah. So he went 2 years like that. Paul Linfield, I know Fred remembers that Paul was a short guy. He was, they had a condo down on Charter Hill. And he would walk every morning up to Fred's to get a newspaper and back. And, he was barely 5'2", so a real short guy. And he was a Jewish fellow from Germany, and he was in high school, and there, and his parents realized what was going on in Germany, so they sent him to live with relatives in Miami, and that's where he finished high school. As soon as he graduated from high school, he joined the army. He was going to go fight Hitler. And where did they send him but Japan? So it took him off to Japan. We had several. So one was Ken Easley was a Navy man on a destroyer. Glenn Davidson was a Navy pilot that flew off aircraft carriers. Bill Boynton served in both the Canadian Navy and the United States Navy. We had Mike Ghetto, was Marine Corps. Ken Kent spent the whole war as a submarine. I don't see how anybody could do that. Claustrophobia would get me in a hurry. And then we had General Jake Sherrard was Army. I'm sure I forgot some, but that's just some I did want to mention. And would you bow your heads, please? I'd like to share this prayer that we had on the ship there. Almighty God, we pray for all leaders of our countries, that they may govern us wisely and well. We pray for one another, that we may live and work together in love, mutual understanding, and peace, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Almighty God, we pray for all people of our nations whose lives are dedicated to the service of others. May God bestow his blessings of faithfulness and peace on them for the sake of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Board, welcome.
Thank you, sir. They are fixing the roads.
Progress comes with some delays.
Yes, sir. It's about an hour and a half between Boone and Beach Mountain these days.
Public comment. This is a time for the public to address their elected officials on issues not on the agenda. Town council is interested in hearing your concerns. However, speakers should not expect council action or deliberation on items brought forth during the public comment period. So, I think we have two folks that have signed up for a public comment. Fred, you're up, sir.
Emily, I'm Fred Thole from 501 Beach Mountain Parkway.
I didn't want you to tell your address, I mean, but I guess I broke protocol. That was a little insulting.
Well, I just
Okay.
saw Emily there and I wanted to make sure.
Okay,
No. Folks, thank you very much for letting me be here today. And I know we come to town council meetings to learn as much, take part, and participate in being able to be part of our democracy. But I got to thinking just a few minutes ago as we were listening to my good friend telling us all this history and so forth, that of course I come to be with all of you on meetings day, but I think more than anything else I come to hear Cyclone. And so Cyclone, thank you for what you do. All of us. Well, listen, I'm here just to kind of publicly thank everybody that made the last 6-7 weeks be what it is on Beach Mountain. And I've told often that I have a big faith in my fellow Beach Mountain folks, watching them get up and help one another and help the town and do all the things that they did. And I'm proud to be from Beach Mountain, but you know, as I look around, I remember several days seeing Bob sitting in this same corner here, kind of orchestrating everything that went on, and we appreciate that. And I saw Jimmy taking care of people. There were probably more pizzas eaten in a few days than ever before on Beach Mountain. But everyone, I mean, I look around, but I think everybody from the police department to Public Works to the fire department and all the individuals that got out. But, you know, stop a minute and just think how lucky we are to live on Beach Mountain and not to have suffered any more than some inconveniences getting up and down the road. Of course, we need to thank our friend Robbie Cavaniera for making sure we could finally get off the mountain after 3 days or 3.5, whatever. But thanks to everybody that helped out during this, and you know, they use the term whatever strong. Well, we're definitely Beach Mountain strong, but we're even more than Beach Mountain. We're community-wide and whatever, and I'm just thankful to live on Beach Mountain. Thank you.
thank you, Fred. All right, Nick, you have to be as elegant as Fred.
I'm gonna echo Fred's words for a minute or two. I went to Ole Miss, so I'm flying high right now. Beaten, after graduating with a doctorate degree from the Rebels. Country. Hotty toddy to my friend over here. I was also in the Air Force, ran the hospital in Las Vegas, Nevada called Nellis Air Force Base. And when my time was up to leave, I came to the desk to sign the final paper, because you went to every office you could imagine. And I looked down and the guy said, "If you'll sign this paper right now, we'll make you a captain." And the guy next to him says, "Don't ask him that." We want to say goodbye to Lieutenant Wilson. I knew a lot of people on the base from my duties. But I got up this morning and yeah, we have an inconvenience or two, Fred. I know that. But wow, these people on this mountain, the Public Works Department and the Police Department in particular, have done just a marvelous job for us. And they watch out for us to make sure that nobody breaks into our property, and they're doing extra rounds now just for that. And we know from Daniel Davis and the Public Department that we feel safe. And we also are functional on this mountain, the ability to get around. And those people they've just done a wonderful job for us. My last comment is, we've gotten through about the first month. I'd like to hear, I hope today, a little bit more about what we're gonna do in the future. And that means the near future and the far, because it's probably gonna be a couple of years before we really get back to normal. But thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, Nick. Your address is 518 or 513?
513?
513 Charter Hills Road. Give me 1 second, write a note, my pen quit working. Okay, thank you for the public comments. I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Vote, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 6 passes. Okay, item 7.1, old business. I need a motion and a second to open a public hearing on proposed amendments to kitchens and guest suites. And actually, items 7.1 and 7.2 will be voted on at the next town council meeting. So I need a motion to open up.
Motion to open a public hearing.
All right, need a second?
Second.
Okay. Any public comments on kitchens and on item 7.1? Going once, going twice? Okay. Need a motion to close it
Motion.
and a second.
Second.
All right, very good. Same for item 7.2. Again, this will be voted on at the next town council meeting. I need a motion to open up a public hearing on the proposed amendments to off-street parking and loading.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All right. Any public comments? Okay. So I need a motion to close the public hearing on proposed amendments to off-street parking and loading.
Motion to close.
Second?
Second.
Okay, very good. New business. Item 8.1, bat survey at Lake Coffee Project. I need a motion for item 8.1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Town manager want to report on it a little bit, or?
I can.
Sure.
So this is a part of the Lake Coffee Reservoir project. We talked a little bit about it, I think 2 months ago. In our process, as we go through the permitting process, the environmental folks had recommended that we do a bat habitat study for the area surrounding Lake Coffee and Lake Santis. They advised us strongly that if we did it up front, it would smooth the permitting process in timing. So we went out and secured a quote for a bat study from the Ecosystem Planning and Restoration Group. I put their proposal in your packet, and it's ready for your approval.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
8.1 passes. I need a motion to approve item 8.2, emergency generator, fire station number 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 8.2 passes. Need a motion to approve item 8.3, which is RFQ on engineering for Buckeye Lake assessment.
Should we get you to discuss that with us?
We will. I need a second. All right, actually, I need a motion.
No. Motion.
Need a second.
Second.
Alan?
No, just
Yeah.
if he wanted to expand on what that RFQ is for.
So we're in the realm of FEMA procurement processes. This is a request for qualifications for an engineering firm to do an analysis on the damage to Buckeye Lake as well as the spillway, as well as the dam, the valve works, and the intake to the water plant, which was damaged in the tropical storm. We need an engineering firm to come in and do this analysis, top to bottom, to determine exactly what the impact has been, and more importantly, how we're going to resolve the issue. It's a very complicated issue because it's an on-stream reservoir. You're well aware of the permitting requirements. So this RFQ was sent out through the FEMA process, which we had to spend 30 days to do this. And this firm actually visited the site. It's Matterton Craig Engineers. They put together a good proposal and qualifications. And so we would recommend this engineering firm be brought on board so that we can expedite the repairs to the reservoir.
Any questions?
So in the grand scheme of this is a FEMA reimbursable item that we will see reimbursement for if we're successful in getting that.
It is. The reason we're following the FEMA procurement protocols is because, and I've told everybody that if we make a mistake early on in the process, it could cost us millions of dollars down the road. So we took the time to go out and do an RFQ for this work. We could have done this work on the town's dime, but this is millions of dollars work that's going to have to be done just on the lake itself. So to be able to get reimbursed by FEMA, we need to go through this process. More importantly, we do not have the expertise in-house to make this analysis, and because of the importance of the reservoir and the permitting through the state and the Army Corps of Engineers, we need an expert engineering firm that's versed in this and has the depth to hit the ground running and get this project underway.
Will Haggerty Group offer any assistance on this, or are they going to shadow this program to make sure that everything is done in accordance to what FEMA wants to receive?
No, Haggerty is our FEMA consultant that helps us with the processing, the paperwork. This will be monitored by Daniel Davis and the myriad of permitting entities that will be required.
Upon your selection of a firm, the next step will be for staff to negotiate a contract with this firm, and the intent behind that would be to include the FEMA required provisions in that contract, because they have a number of contractual provisions that are required for federal contracting that wouldn't otherwise be required. And we want to make sure we include those in our terms so that it's eligible for that reimbursement.
Okay. Any further questions? No, thank you, Chief. Need to vote on this, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item 8.4, need a motion to approve RFQ for engineering Charter Hills Road. This is from the storm damage. Need a motion?
Motion.
Any second?
Second.
Chief, you want to say anything about this project?
Sure, this is similar in what we just discussed. The Charter Hills landslide took out a majority of the roadway. This is something, again, that is going to require some specific engineering solutions, not as complicated certainly as Buckeye Lake, but there's little land left below the road and what it looks to be like bedrock. So making a repair so that we have a road that lasts is going to take some engineering. We did a separate RFQ to comply with the federal guidelines. Same engineering firm was selected and recommended to you. They'll be brought on board through the same process that the town attorney just explained, and we'll get them in place to design a repair for the Charter Hills Road washout.
Where are these engineers out of?
They're headquartered in Johnson City, Tennessee, but they have a local office in Hickory, and they've got quite a bit of depth in their team to handle these.
Mr. Mayor, I've used them for Beech Mountain as an expert witness when we had improper construction to our clarifier plant a number of years ago, and was pleased with their work in helping us correct that. So we do have some institutional experience with this firm.
There are a lot of good things that come out of Hickory.
Yes, sir, I don't doubt that.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, need vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Item 8.4 passes. Okay, town manager and staff reports. Chief, you're up.
Well, Mayor and Council, I've got, as you might expect, a lengthy report. I did want to first direct you to page 55 of the agenda. This is the financial reports. If you recall, last month, we did not provide a financial report as we focus solely on the report from the storm. So you have 2 months, August and September, in your packet on page 56, 57, and it proceeds throughout. Our finance director wanted me to point out that the format has changed. We've in everything else that's going on, we've changed our financial software program. We call it Edmunds. And so the format has changed somewhat, and Mr. Smith has put this in a format that he hopes it meets your needs. If it does not, we need to know about it so that we can adjust it. But it gives you the same information as before. It'll tell you the status of the 3 funds. It will tell you what the benchmark is on expenditures versus the budget. And more importantly, it'll show you department by department what their monthly expenditures are. So if you've got questions on those, you have 2 months through on that report. And then on page 62, that's the similar, it's the identical report that Mr. Smith has put together for us every month. And this is a summary page, if you will, of everything that's before it. So when you get a chance, if you let me know or let Mr. Smith know if you've got any questions or concerns or want some additional information, but this will be the new report going forward unless you tell us differently. Okay, so let's move on here. So the state DEQ department put together a $3 million 0% loan for municipalities for utility improvements repairs relative to the storm. We've applied for that and we're waiting approval. That's a revolving zero-interest loan to be repaid when FEMA funds are received. Can only be used for utility work, water and sewer, and it may not require LGC approval. We're waiting to get direction on that. So last month we talked about the financial impact to the town, and I discussed with you going forward that impact to the town is somewhere in the $20 million range. We have a $12 million budget. So I wanted you to know that we applied for that loan through DEQ, and it's in process. In addition, the state legislature appropriated $640 million statewide. We're waiting for the NCDPS, Department of Public Safety, instructions on how to access those funds. This is again designed to be a loan to be paid back after FEMA reimbursements. So with FEMA, the average project timeline is 618 days from when a project is approved to when you receive reimbursement. So obviously, the town is going to have to fund some of these projects for a long period of time, which is why we're reaching out for these funding sources. We obviously can and will, where we need to, use our fund balance, but that's detrimental to the financial stability of the town. So we've reached out for the $3 million in DEQ, and we will be reaching out for our share of the $640 million from the state legislature. I know, Mayor, you've talked to Senator Hayes and some other legislators, so our name is on the list, and we will be watching that very closely. The issue with FEMA, as we discussed earlier, is if you don't do everything right up front, you don't get paid in the back end. And FEMA has been difficult to work with because when we had our meeting Friday at Lake Buckeye, 10 people showed up from FEMA and there were 9 different opinions and 9 different, this is what you need to do. And so we have to pick the right one and move forward. So when our town attorney tells you that there are things in a contract that have to be included for FEMA, he's not kidding. The typical 2-page contract that we do for business every day is now 17 pages. And vendors, you know, spend an awful lot of time reading the fine print and going back to their attorney. And so negotiations for a contract are lengthened. It's quite a process. But again, we want to be very cautious not to make a mistake in November of '24 so that 600 days from now, we don't get that's not approved, you don't get reimbursed. It could have severe financial impacts to the town. On the project side, FEMA has an expedited funding program, which means for Category A, which is debris, trees, construction debris, and Category B, which is the activities that we took to respond to the emergency over time, chainsaws, clearing roads, things like that. They have a program where we can put in a project, get it approved, which we haven't been able to get approved yet, and they'll pay you up front 50% of those approved projects. You go through the process, and then at the end they square it up. Obviously, we'd have to pay 50% up front as we go forward, and then at the end it gets trued up, and hopefully you get your other 50%. I wanted you to know that we've applied for 2 expedited funding, a Category A, Category B, that totals $5.6 million. And we're working that literally every day. And we're close on the Category A, which is the debris, and we're about 50% on the Category B, which is the emergency procedures.
What's the timeline on feedback on receiving these funds realistically?
They advertise, or they tell you, 45 days. We've been involved 30 days, and we may be closer on the Cat A. The Cat B, I think, is going to be a little bit longer.
Does that go straight to FEMA, or does that go through North Carolina Department?
No, that goes straight to FEMA. FEMA approves it, and FEMA would then allocate they go through the project and change the numbers. We've applied for 5.6 million, 50% of that. So I wanted you to know that's the funding piece on where we are with the town. So we've contracted with Southern Disaster Recovery, SDR, for our debris removal. They're a state contract debris removal company. The reason it was decided to go with them is because the state had procured the contracts back in 2020, and the FEMA process was followed. So if by doing a notice to proceed with a state contractor for debris, all of the upfront work had been done, and they're FEMA approved. And debris is going to be several $1 million impact to the town. So that was that was a quick way to get, we hoped, to get the debris moving off the mountain. More importantly, it was the best way to ensure the best reimbursement at the end. So SDR, after a very slow start, they didn't do anything for about 30 days, have responded with equipment and personnel, and as of yesterday, they'd hauled 171 loads totaling 5,000 cubic yards of vegetative debris. And we want to remind the property owners to get their debris out to the town right-of-way and separate it into piles of vegetative debris, what they call C&D, which is household and construction debris. And then if you have any refrigerators and air conditioners that were damaged and hazardous waste, that's in a separate pile. The process will continue until a total of 3 passes have been made through the town and all debris have been picked up. Daniel Davis is managing this for us, and it has been challenging. So the The way the model works is SDR, the contractor that through the state, doesn't have any equipment. They're strictly a management company, so they hire local debris haulers. If you have a trailer and a pickup truck, you can get on their list. And part of the problem, and I'll take the time to explain it so that you know why the debris is taking so long to get off the out of the town, is when the state bid the project in 2020, there was a fixed rate of $9.50 per cubic yard of debris to be hauled out. It was a 3-year contract, which was extended in 2023 for 2 years, and there was no multiplier on the cubic yard. As you know, Florida suffered a storm, Helene, but then Milton struck Florida, and Florida contracts were at $15 a yard. So all the people with pickup trucks and trailers drove to Florida for the extra payment per yard, and it left North Carolina, who used these contractors, holding the bag, so to speak. So we've met with FEMA, and we've negotiated an additional fee per yard, and we've been able to get resources up on the mountain. So it's been a slow start, but now you'll see debris trucks leaving the mountain, and hopefully that will pick up. Daniel Davis works that every day with them, because as everyone knows, winter is quickly approaching, and it's going to be very difficult to get those piles of debris out of the road when they've got an ice ball on top of them or snow. Makes it hard for us to plow the roads as well.
They serve as a good guardrail.
Yeah, well, I guess. Another problem is it's impeding us from making repairs to not only the road shoulders, but some of the utilities. The debris is piled in the shoulder of the road, which is damaged, and we can't repair it. And we have some utilities that are damaged underneath these debris piles. So this is a priority, and we're working it literally every day, and that we're beginning to see loads leave, but we should be 10 times this amount of debris from the town by now, and we're not. Roadways. NCDOT has advised that the state road will have repairs made prior to December 1st, and they are currently underway doing that. If you've driven Beach Mountain Parkway, as our esteemed attorney has, you'll know that the work is being done. So we've and actually they're a little bit ahead of schedule. So we've had great response. The mayor's called their district engineer, Michael Poe, and he's personally been up here and gotten some first-hand looks at things. So we'll have the parkway repaired quickly. The town continues to make repairs based upon a priority, with travel lanes and culvert crossings the highest priority. Gravel shoulders, driveways, and those connections will be a lower priority. I receive calls every day about, just bring me a load of gravel and you'll fix my driveway, and I don't have the gravel. That's another issue. When the storm hit, the state impounded all of the gravel from the quarries, and we've had to beg, borrow, and steal to get gravel. Charter Hills Road will be closed for several weeks. We've talked about that until the engineers can inspect and devise a repair. I would ask that whoever is moving our barricades to drive on that very unsafe road shouldn't do that. But someday I'll find the barricade in the pickup truck down at the bottom of the hill, and I'll know who did it. So, the town has posted 26 structures due to damage from the storm. 7 structures were posted as notice of unsafe conditions due to lack of sewer connections or lack of safe egress due to tree damage. 19 structures were posted with a minimum housing notice, and we're working to get these properties in compliance as soon as possible, so you should know about that. The Pond Creek sewer line was totally damaged. I reported that to you last month. We've made repairs, but what hasn't happened in every case is the houses, it's their responsibility, have not been reconnected to the main sewer line. So those houses were posted, the water was turned off so that there is no sewage, and unfortunately they're waiting for plumbers to make their repairs. The repairs to the sewer plant on Locust Ridge have been completed. We are refilling the tanks and getting the plant back in operation. We still have some tank heaters that need to be replaced, but the leak, the damage to the piping that was at the bottom of the tank, was pumped out. We hauled the sewage off the mountain. Contractor got in, made the repairs, and we're back in operation. We're not in compliance yet with the state because of the tank heaters, but those are on order, and as soon as they're here, we'll have those installed. The OWASA, the Orange Water and Sewer Authority, is on site doing a camera closed-circuit TV damage survey of our Pond Creek sewer infrastructure. This section, as I just said, was washed away, exposing sewage to the creek. We made temporary repairs, but the problem is we can't see what's underground, and a lot of debris is still laying on top of manholes. Manholes have moved. So we got this group to come in. Actually, Fred is housing them, and for the next week, they'll be doing about 25,000 feet of sewage line camera work. This is to ascertain the damage underground that we can't see, so that it can be, we'll go out to an RFQ, and we'll hire another engineering and then a firm to make those repairs. Let's talk about Buckeye Lake debris. FEMA has visited the site, as I told you, last Friday. Now you've approved an engineering firm, and we'll begin a detailed analysis to make to determine the amount of debris, the damage to the spillway, the operation of the drain valve and water plant intake. This is going to require a survey of the lake. It will require putting divers in the lake. It will require visual inspection of the dam and the spillway. It will not be a short process just to do the analysis, and then we'll do a project, submit it to FEMA, and begin that process of getting the lake brought back up to speed. Until it's brought back to capacity, and we've estimated that 40% of the lake has been impacted. So we had not enough water before, and now we have 40% less. So you'll see a sign out here encouraging water conservation, as we are going to be in phase 1, voluntary conservation, and as we go through the winter, we'll report back to you on how that works, and we'll have updates on the town website as we go forward. That is a big concern, the reservoir, and the damage to the lake and the damage to the infrastructure. It makes Lake Coffee that much more important, and it will facilitate, well, you've helped us tonight facilitate moving forward with that. Shane Park, the debris contractor, SDR, will be conducting the debris removal. Where repairs to the buildings are being determined. We'll see where that goes. The North Carolina League of Municipalities insures our infrastructure, our buildings. They have a team of adjusters that have visited all damaged town facilities and determined what insurance benefits are due, if any. The Haggerty Group, as we've talked, Mayor, has been instrumental with the town's FEMA response. They've been on site here as well as regular conference calls. We have at least 2 a week in communications. I will tell you that the decision to hire a consultant that is well-versed in the FEMA disaster recovery process will be immeasurable. They have been able to lead us through that. We collect the data. They ask all the really tough questions. They put the reports together in the FEMA format, the FEMA vernacular, if you will, and all the abbreviations. And we would not be where we are today, even though we don't have any money yet from FEMA, if it wasn't for Haggerty. So I wanted to let you know that that was a very good, in my opinion, very good decision. Some good news. Ski Loft Road's completed. Special thanks to Eggers Construction and Mountain Electric. This was a really aggressive project that came in on time and under budget. We won't go through the legal aspects in this meeting, but the project in itself is complete. You should take a ride up there. The road striping is in, the curb and guttering is in. When it rains, it actually has a good drainage system. There's new power, there's new telephone, there's new pavement. For the most part, everybody's happy up there. So that, my hat's off to everybody that made that happen, because we were told can't be done, that type of project can't be done, and it was done. Wish I could say that about the Town Hall Visitor Center project. We're finishing up the details and the punch list. I don't know when we're gonna be done. No one was here today, you know, and we don't have a lot of things to do, but we have things like toilet fixtures, you know, tile, things like that. So it's not just some paint and some punch list. There's some things that need to be done.
Are the penalties still racking up?
Pardon me?
Are the penalties still accumulating?
Well, yes and no. We've had a problem with the storm and an argument about weather days, and, you know, that go all the way back a year. We're holding payment, and we're holding, you know, retainage. We've occupied a substantial portion of the project without substantial completion. I probably shouldn't say that in public, but we're doing what we need to do. We will get it done. We're using the building. It looks pretty good from the outside. We just don't have the inside finished. Let's talk about Lake Coffee. That 200 and some page handout I gave you. Like I said, Lake Coffee now more important than ever with the impact of Buckeye Lake. That's the engineer's report on where we stand today. I wanted to get that to you because we haven't talked much about Lake Coffee other than the bats, but there's been an awful lot of work that's been done to get us to the point where we are. And that report that you have, in the interest of time, we won't go through it. But if you would review it and tell me, my plan was in December, at the December meeting, I can have the engineer here, or I can answer the questions that you have. This is where we are, and it's fairly a fairly comprehensive report as we move forward through permitting. So the design is underway. There'll be some decisions to make about how the reservoir is to be constructed. A liner is a big discussion, not only in its cost, but in its applicability for maintenance as we move forward. If you line it like a swimming pool and then you have to dredge or dig out or excavate the reservoir to get the silt out, and you put a hole in the liner, you've lost about $8 million liner. So those discussions will be ongoing in the next 60 to 90 days. We'll need to make that decision. Permitting is underway. So I want you to read about the liner if you would, and then also know that we received a $1.7 million Phase 1 grant from FEMA to pay for all of the past engineering and design and future going forward. And we're in the process of going back and getting all of our expenses collated and submitted so that we can be reimbursed.
How were you able to get that money back in retro? Or,
We just,
okay.
there's a date, and everything that you did after that date is eligible.
Okay.
So FEMA allows for future mitigation efforts for disaster planning, one of which is an alternate water supply source for the town. So I've not seen the details, but I would anticipate that our friends at the Haggerty Group have been preparing the documents to deal with this as a disaster mitigation recovery for future concerns, so that we're not in a position of losing our water supply completely if we have another hurricane or something like that that hits us.
So Chief asked a moment ago if, at our next council meeting, if he wanted to outline or go over the details, like on this first page, or have the consultant come in. What do you guys want to do?
I think having the consultant here would be good, but I gotta review all this to know if I'm gonna even have questions, right? So.
Oh, you'll have questions. The first page is the review of everything that's behind it.
Right.
So, and West Consultants developed this. if you'd prefer to have him here, I'll have him here.
I mean,
Well,
I won't be the only one that thinks that it'd be good to have him here, but.
let's.
I agree.
I mean, is it something we can all answer individually in a few days, like a week?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's do it that way.
Okay. Well, I'll put him on standby. Okay, if you recall, you approved in the TDA was funding an economic development study for the town's commercial overlay. Remember before the storm, we were talking about that? And that was due in November, and we postponed that now to January 31st due to the impact from the storm. So we've reached out to the people we had been talking to, and we expect to receive a number of proposals, and we'll bring a recommendation back to you. But there have been a number of our businesses who were excited about that study. Then when the storm hit, they said, well, I guess that's out the window. That's not. What we want to do is just postpone it so that the staff can get some breathing room and we can get this properly vetted and brought to you. So you should see that in February. Similarly, the winter traffic study, if you recall, that you approved and the TDA was funding a traffic impact study during the winter times up here after the traffic problems we had 2 winters ago. That's been postponed until November of 2025. We could go forward and spend that money, but we're very hesitant about what this winter will look like traffic-wise. Now, I said that it'll be bumper to bumper jammed, but we thought it best to save that money and spend it next year to a more normal season, because we're really looking to get an impact study and then take a look at what the solutions may be. We'll still continue the traffic counting. We're doing that real time, and we'll have that data available for the consultant, but we put that off until November of 25. At the Sledding Hill, which we're getting ready to open that up, we're going to use SnowMax this year. The resort has been using SnowMax, and so we are going to give it a try. We're told that it'll give us a 40% increase in snow production. It'll raise the melting point of the snow, the final snow, so it should last a little longer on the slope. It also should allow us to make snow at higher temperatures. I'm looking at you because you knew all this.
Correct, sir.
And that also will allow us to use less water, because we talked about Buckeye. We use well water at the Sledding Hill in our tank, and so we want to maximize the use of that water. And the expense this year is $2,000 for the materials. We have been given the feeding system as a trial. And if this works this year, then we'll budget for the hardware next year as we go forward. So I'm looking forward to something different at the Sledding Hill. Let's see, board appointments are due in December. We have 9 positions that are up for renewal. Emily's been out calling current members to ascertain if they wish to be reappointed. Anybody interested should complete an application if they would like to volunteer. If Emily's calling you, you don't have to do a new application. They're on the town's website. I think Emily puts them out on the table here. So next month on your agenda, expect to see appointments or reappointments at the December meeting, and we can go forward from that. Beach Mountain Resort plans to open November 29th, the day after Thanksgiving. So everybody be prepared. And last thing I've got is our town Christmas parade is December 19th at 4 o'clock. The theme is Beach Mountain, a Winter Wonderland. And it's time for some good times here in the town as opposed to all the dead trees and debris and gravel in the road. With that, Mayor and Council, that's my report, unless you have any questions.
Staff, the snow cone machine that the resort has, that uses SnowMax, doesn't it?
No, I don't believe it does.
Because he was able to make snow, but it was like,
Well, it's because it's a whole different system. We're making snow right now. If you've not been by the resort, we have a pile of snow on the tube run. We started making it Friday evening. So
Nice. All
Yeah,
right.
tubing's coming. I mean, tubbing.
Tubman.
I do have a couple follow-up questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
My first, for the town manager, do we know what the water flow is into Buckeye? Do we have a way we monitor the water flow into Buckeye Lake?
We did.
It's gone.
It got washed away.
Okay.
We had two USGA
Gauges.
gauges, one above and below, and those are required as part of our permitting. The hardware is been recovered, but they're not functioning.
Okay.
So when the town was supposed to release so many gallons with that flow rate, were you going the same place?
Go ahead, you're on.
So where do we stand? Because there were some fines and some penalties, that we had to release X amount of gallons every day or whenever that time period was. Where do we stand with that?
The town is complying with its permit.
Okay. Very good. We'll leave it at that.
My second question is about private property next to roadways, and we have a lot of areas in town where we have tree debris that's fallen, that's been cut back to the edge of the road, but has not been cut back the way it should be. And how are we dealing with that? Is that an ordinance issue, or is it just nothing we can enforce?
Well, currently, what we've done is we've cut it back to the right-of-way, which is what the requirement is, and we're actually permitted to go maybe a foot or more, depending on the situation. If a tree is leaning and it's on private property and it's leaning more than 45 degrees, and it would fall and create a hazard, either hitting a power line or out into the roadway, we're permitted to go back to the root ball and cut it, and most of that has been done. If there's a private property with a tree has fallen on it and it's not in the right of way, and it's the private property's problem. And currently, we don't have a strong ordinance to force the private property owner to clean up that fallen tree. If it's a hazard, like it's going to impact the public, we can enforce that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I'm speaking for the attorney here.
I was gonna say, well put.
So that's where we are. In some places, it looks terrible, but we don't have the ability to go. If you would, before the storm, there was plenty of vacant property that had down trees on it.
Right.
And nothing was done. There's just more down trees on private property now because of the storm.
I'm just thinking of some areas, and maybe it's just some spots that will get caught along our portion of the parkway that's not DOT. That to me seems like, it's right at the edge of the road. For some folks, that might be a hazard, especially when we get into winter time and we put any kind of.
Well, if you'll give me a location,
pictures.
we'll go take a look. I don't even need a picture, just tell me where it's at. Sometimes, we drive by it 10 times a day, and we know that we cut it back to the right of way. We may not see that through the same eyes as you. So just let me know, and I'll send somebody out. If we can cut it back legally, we will. If we can't, we won't.
Thank you.
What about, you mentioned something earlier about homes that didn't have water and sewer. What's the town's protocol? They don't have water and sewer, and it's a short-term rental. I mean, you would think that they can't rent their homes out, but I think some folks will probably try to circumvent the system.
Well, the issue is those have been posted and they're not habitable. So it doesn't matter if you rent them or you own them. You can't habitate the house. We turn the water off because that's the only way we can control the sewage. So those have all been posted, and our planning and zoning and building department are working with each one to ensure that, one, they're not used, and two, that their repairs we're trying to facilitate getting repairs made. We're waiving permit fees. We're trying to get contractors out there to get these houses back online. To your point, had to send out our inspector after hours because a person who had a posted house with no water or sewer rented it to a group of college students for the weekend. And it was picked up by the police department. They called our inspector. He went out there and had to remove people from the house. So best intentions of ours, but we just can't get people to, do the right thing.
Were they fined,
No,
the homeowner?
no.
So there's no ramifications to the homeowner for renting a house that doesn't have,
Well, we removed their tenants.
yeah,
We removed their tenants.
that's pretty bad.
We don't have a fine for that.
I believe your ordinance does allow the imposition of a fine, but the breach of contract the homeowner may face may be penalty enough financially when the college students demand restitution
Mhm,
as a potential option.
mhm. That's pretty bad. So, and then if they wouldn't have gotten caught, PD caught wind of it, and whomever, and if they would have tried to use the toilets or whatever, and then that just goes into our stream system.
Well, they would have had to use a substitute water source to flush the toilets.
Correct?
Probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I will note that is a fire and safety issue for a house with no water available to it.
And it was clearly posted, and for the renters to go enter the property,
Right,
they knew.
sure. Well, they were college kids, and they probably didn't care. But it's neither here nor there. You guys have any further questions? All right. Council comments? Alan?
Yeah, it was brought up earlier by Chief, and that is just for everyone to be patient. There's a rhyme and a reason why they're moving at the pace they are, and reimbursement back to the town when the costs are gonna well exceed any budget that we could possibly imagine, and he's looking out for the best interests of the town, so we just ask everyone, if debris not getting cleared or whatever, just to be patient with the town. We only have so many resources to apply that we can use up here. And that goes back to what everyone has said earlier, and just like to recognize and thank all of the town employees, fire, police, the residents here did a great job. I think everyone pulled together and pulled that that wagon as we needed to, and it was great to see that. It really warmed the heart to do that. We're blessed up here. We didn't get the damage that if you ride around and go to some of the other areas around here, you would see that they were devastated, and we kind of dodged the bullet there, but still incurred quite a bit of damage up here. So, and just a big thanks to Chief Pudney for all he's done for the town, and working long hours, and making sure that we're back on our feet as quickly as possible. So thank you, Chief, again.
Thank you.
Probably,
Snapper?
I was gonna say, Bob's probably wishing he'd taken his vacation after the hurricane and not before. I just wanted to say, it's the 1-year anniversary for 4 of us being sworn in as public servants. This is technically our 13th meeting. And I hope that we've lived up to the expectations of the citizens of the town, and if we haven't, please hold us accountable and let us know. There's still much work to be done. There's a lot of, I feel like when I came to Beach Mountain and I took the job at the resort, every year I had something big happen, and I'm hoping that I don't have the same thing on council, having something big happen in the town every year, because it's 2 big things happening every year. But with that said, please hold us accountable. Please let us know how we're doing. Please reach out.
Vice Mayor?
Again, since I go last, I'm diddling all of this. Just to let everybody know, on top of the Christmas parade, we've got the holiday market at Buckeye Rec that's coming up as well. And Beach Mountain Club has put out an email about creating care packages to give to town employees. So if you haven't gotten that, just let me know and I can forward it to you. I think it's a really great idea. And that's it. Yeah. And, oh yes, Buckeye also has the Angel Tree, and Brick Oven has a Friendsgiving coming up.
Well, we've had a smooth meeting since Art wasn't here, so it's nice not having him here for a break. Okay, I got that out of the way. So we've got new county commissioners for Watauga County. Hopefully we'll see some changes with how the county, we'll see some financial changes, I hope, with some of the rates that we've experienced with Beach Mountain. There's a couple areas where we pay taxes and then we're charged for the same fees from Watauga County. So hopefully Mr. Eggers over here will have some influence on his brother, Braxton Eggers, who is he's our county commissioner for this region. Braxton was here a number of times during the storm, so definitely want to give him a shout out, and Ray Pickett as well, a lot of the help that those guys did. But, so we're going to start, I think the new commissioners, when will they be sworn in for?
The first Monday in December.
All right, so we need to start working on them second day of December. And try to get some things pushed through in January, February. So I've mentioned this a number of times about building relationships with our local and state and federal officials. Whenever Chief Putney told me that it was going to be possibly January before Beach Mountain Parkway was going to be fixed and repaired, that was unacceptable. With the amount of traffic that will be coming on and off the mountain, all of our safety coming, going down the mountain and coming back up. So what was going to be, mid-December, early January, Beach Mountain Parkway should be repaired in the next 2 weeks. And then I think Putney mentioned Haggerty. They've been a blessing walking us through the process. I said a while ago that good things come out of Hickory. He's from Hickory. Brock Long used to be director of FEMA and lost his job, I think, to politics when the past administration came in. So, but the Haggerty Group is indirectly a form of FEMA. So it's been nice having the Haggerty Group guide us through this process. As Stanford said, with having the new council, I hope we've represented you guys well. It's been an honor to be the mayor of Beach Mountain. It's been a learning experience, and I hope that I have lived up to what I said I'll do and what I continue to want to do for Beach Mountain. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Whenever our North Carolina and federal officials award Beach Mountain money, that money doesn't discriminate which side of the fence you're on. So, it's important that we continue to develop rapport with our officials. Also, we're talking about, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, we have a lot of strange vehicles that are on Beach Mountain, and we need to be prudent of who these people are, and if you see that someone's at your neighbor's home that doesn't belong there, call the police department and have them check it out. So keep an eye on your neighbor's property. Other than that, that's it. I appreciate everyone attending, and looks like, Nick, you have a new, I guess since Ole Miss won, or beat Georgia, you got a new sweatshirt. Your last one doesn't look like when you were a doctor or whatever, when you were there.
Ole Miss wins games that they should lose, and they lose games that they should win.
Can I throw one additional thing out that I forgot about? I
Absolutely.
apologize. I don't know if everybody's aware, but there's a Music for the Mountains benefit concert this Friday night at 5
Hold on 1
p.m.
second. Hold
Friday
on.
night, November 15th
All right, folks. hold
at
on.
Lee's McRae. It's a concert that is going to benefit Avery County first responders who need assistance. I know that there's a lieutenant, Banner Elk Police Department, who lost his home. I know there's an Avery County EMS member that works on for the ambulance system down there that lost their home. These are all folks that, in the case of the lieutenant, he lost his home and went right to work. and responded to everything that was going on, didn't take time to figure out what was going on in his own life. So.
Well, his wife is a
His wife is a
dispatcher.
dispatcher here, that's right.
Yep.
So, the funds from that concert are gonna go directly to support those Avery County first responders. So that's this Friday, the 15th, 5 PM at, is it Hayes Auditorium on Lees McRae College campus?
How much are the tickets?
They're $10 to $20.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
thank you for attending the meeting. Call this meeting adjourned.
I didn't mention you, but thank you.
You did good, Emily.